Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TV Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC Austin. Calvin Kattar versus Josh Emmett, your featherweight main event and title contender eliminator. But before we can get into that, we have somebody awesome in the building, a good friend of the show, awesome podcaster, fantastic handicapper, half the battle's own Dan Levi. What is going on, buddy? Good to have you back.
It's good to be back, man. I'm chilling. I was gonna ask, like, do you talk like that, like when you're alone with your girl too?
It's honestly probably because I talk like that is why I don't have a girl. But I appreciate that. I get hyped up, man. When I have you in the building, man, the energy's at an 11.
I appreciate y'all having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
And
let me tell you, anytime Guru gets to talking about fights, the energy's at 11. Let me tell you, Saturday nights hanging out, we got it on the big screen there. You know, he's always got it flowing. So.
and I'll be honest. I'll wear my heart on my sleeve a little bit. I am a Josh Emmett fanboy. I've always been drawn to him, his style. I don't know why. Like I am just I've always rooted for him. I felt bad when he got the just the bullshit loss to Jeremy Stevens. Like that broke my heart for him a little bit.
What was bullshit about it?
I don't know. Wasn't it? It was kind of illegal, no?
I looked to me like he got knocked unconscious.
No, for sure. All right. Well, hey, I mean, without further ado, I mean, since we're already getting down into it here, we got our main event this week: Calvin Kattar versus Josh Emmett. I mean, man, this one, like we're kind of alluding to here, this one's gonna be a fucking banger. So I can't wait to start breaking it down. You got Kattar minus 235, Emmett plus 190. Guru, the train was already starting to roll. So tell us, I mean, dude, what are you thinking here as we look at the line to start off?
Listen, I'm a big fan of both of these guys, honestly, right? We were on Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze, which I'm not a lot of people are, started off our year on a good note. And Calvin Kattar is somebody that will really dig forward, apply that pressure, in fantastic boxing, as everybody knows. But Josh Emmett has different power. Like we talk about knockouts and power in the UFC a lot. It becomes like hyperbolic. You don't even really the words become nothing when you hear them so often. Josh Emmett's power is fucking legit. Right. It's up there with some of the premier knockout people in MMA. He's got a knockout rate like similar to Francis Ngannou. He's the Francis Ngannou of featherweights. Tell me I'm wearing tinfoil.
No, I totally understand it. It was a little concerning to see, kind of the reliance on the one punch against Dan Ige recently. So, it leads me to believe, Calvin Kattar, coming forward, he's going to be working the jab. He's going to be working the volume. I mean, you can see it quite clearly. He's very well outpacing what Josh Emmett puts out on a normal basis from distance. But at the same time, I don't think either guy's really going to be shooting here. And if we see the version of Josh Emmett that showed up in the Shane Burgos fight, then, maybe this is someone that will go for the volume. It's just concerning that his first time coming back from injury, we did see him a little bit more plodding, a little bit slower, and, getting that leg kicked out by Dan Ige a little bit. So it makes me a little bit worried to just play Josh Emmett at the money line, because I don't think there is enough value overall. If you don't think he can win a decision, I don't even know if plus 190 is going to look like great value at the end of the day if Kattar ends up with a 49-46 and gets knocked down in one round and loses that and then just cruises the rest of the way.
Right.
Kattar's never been knocked out. Yeah, he's been knocked down 5 times though. So that's not to say, and his defense, we're talking about 40% from, only a 53% defense, whereas his accuracy is 40%. I'm sure that's skewed a little bit by the Max Holloway fight, but even so, seeing Calvin Kattar just in general, he does like getting hit a little bit, and he will tend to kind of go down. Like Jeremy Stevens even got out to a little bit of an early lead against him before the tides quickly turned. So, Josh Emmett, what's your volume going to look like? Dan Levi, where are you sitting at on this fight?
Wait, did you say Kattar's been knocked down 5 times?
Yes.
Which fights was he knocked down in?
So
Because I'm pretty sure Kattar's never been knocked down even once in the UFC, right? He's delivered knockdowns, but he's never been knocked down.
That's a great
Oh
question.
yeah,
Could this
no,
be...
it says it right there. You read it wrong, Tyler. DB.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, go
Oh, I
back.
read knocked down.
Yes.
Oh, oopsies. Yes, knocked down
it
0
It
times.
actually says it right down.
Wow.
It's funny because even though with
Thank you for
5
calling me out. I
knockdowns,
appreciate that.
yeah, even with 5 knockdowns, he's still in the red somehow against Josh Emmett because Josh Emmett, the sick fuck, has 11 knockdowns.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So like Emmett's
Thank
got 7 fights at featherweight, and he scored 11 knockdowns. He's landed a knockdown in literally every single fight he's had in the featherweight division. Like that's so when you compare him to Ngannou, I understand why. I mean, he's got an even higher knockdown rate at his weight class than Ngannou because Ngannou didn't knock down his last opponent, Cyril Gane, right? So
right.
Emmett's got an 100% knockdown rate in all his fights at featherweight,
yep.
Win, lose, or draw. So here's the thing: when people call it knockout or bust, I'm not sure I agree because I could see a case where Emmett or Kattar's winning the entire round, but Emmett can steal a round with a knockdown, right? So it's one of those things where it's like Kattar gets hit a lot, man. And props to you guys for picking him against Giga. I was actually on Giga. I was very wrong in that fight, but Kattar gets hit a lot. Like even in that Chikadze fight, he got hit 128 times.
Yeah,
you don't want to get hit 100 times, let alone 60 times against a guy like Emmett. But here's my question: to your point, you brought up how Emmett didn't look that good his last fight coming off the surgery. Now, was it a case where it was his first fight back? He's trying to get his feet back under him. He had to get his feet wet again, and now he's going to look, like he did against Burgos. He's going to look great again. Or was it a sign of a decline? That's my big question. And that's the question I don't know. That's what needs to be answered for me on Saturday. So it comes down to that for me, right? But regardless of all that, I mean, Emmett's going to touch Kattar. Like, that's just the bottom line. Kattar gets touched a lot. It's just about what kind of impact are these shots going to have? Are we talking knockdowns? Are we talking grazing off the gloves? So there's a lot to take into consideration. But when you have questions like that, I think there is value, plus 200, plus 190, plus 195 on a guy like Emmett. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to win. If it's a 50-50 fight, I do lean Calvin Kattar because he will be the minute winner in this fight. No doubt about it. It's just Emmett can sway rounds towards his favor with that power that we've been talking about.
100%. And I sorry to interrupt. I wanted to bring up the counterpoint because TB had brought it up, and then you brought it up so excellently as well. With the Dan Ige fight, I honestly felt that a lot, and I brought it up to TB during the week, I felt that a lot of that tentativeness from Josh Emmett was because Ige was faking takedowns and going for takedowns. So, and Emmett did a great job of sprawling and defending because he's a fantastic wrestler in his own right. But I felt like that was kind of why Emmett didn't want to overextend himself and put himself in a bad position. And like you've also said already, TB, Calvin Kattar's not going to be wrestling in this fight, so that won't be an issue here.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that the play that I come back to, because I don't think that this is going to be the fight that I'm laying my biggest bet on this week. I've been trying to, be a little bit more reserved. Just because it's the main event doesn't mean it has to be the main bet. But a little something that I do like, Josh Emmett right now, if you look at the props to get plus 425 on the knockout. I know Kattar's never been knocked out, but if there was ever anyone to do it, plus 425, there might be a little value. But
plus 470 FanDuel.
Well, there you go. And, plus 150 by finish only. So if you do think, he's got the durability to go 5 with Kattar, and you think that Emmett's path is going to be by knockout, that could be your little play. But I don't think I'm going to be laying anything huge here. Kattar does also have the 5-inch height advantage. I'm on Emmett, 2-inch reach. So if anything, if he suddenly learns how to play defense and stay safe, the entire time, it could look, like a drubbing. But if Josh Emmett shows up like that Burgos fight, I think we are going to see a little bit closer of a striking battle. And I still see Kattar, landing the volume to win it out. So my pick for the fight is Kattar. I'm not taking him at minus 235. I would much rather put a little bet on Josh Emmett.
I like a little grandma's couch cushion money on the Josh Emmett money line. And honestly, my crazy pick for this fight, I don't even know if it's fading the narrative anymore, as I've seen the line kind of move a little bit. I kind of like the fight to go the distance. I think these guys are both two tough SOBs. and they're gonna just go out and smash the shit out of each other. And will the fight go? Honestly, will the fight go the distance? Yes, at -112. So even money, because no is -112. That's FanDuel. DraftKings already has it to -135. So,
Any
Dan
final
Levy?
points on this fight?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, Kattar, he's got a ridiculous chin, man. So to me, it's like a question of when's that chin going to finally give out? Because you look at the numbers, and I mean, the guy gets hit so much every single fight.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason that I had Giga, but Kattar threw a curveball there. He took him down in the first round. I don't think he's going to have success taking down a guy like Emmett. But it wasn't just the takedowns that he introduced to the table in that fight. He was spinning. He was doing some stuff that we haven't seen before. So, again, I definitely think Kattar is going to be the minute winner. It's just, what are the reactions going to be like when Emmett throws his shots, right? And how many rounds can Emmett win in a 5-round fight? Because, like, you look at the stats in that Burgos fight, Burgos outstruck him, but it didn't matter because the knockdowns and the more impactful shots went to Emmett. So he was able to steal the decision that way. So, and again, that's a decision, right? We were talking about knockout or bust. This guy won. His last couple wins have been decisions. So I don't think he's knockout or bust at all.
Okay. I like that. And yeah, so without further
ado, he's highly skilled, and he could mix up the wrestling. Like even if one well-timed takedown would be unbelievable for him. I think.
Yeah,
like I don't know. Calvin Kattar is good at shrimping, but like I'm not sure that he's going to get up with that kind of wrestling.
Listen, if the rounds are close, that's definitely a good way to kind of seal the deal. I have a feeling though that they're gonna bang, just based on who these two guys are. But of course, mixing in that, throwing in that joker in your back pocket, kind of like Kattar did to Giga last time. If Emmett wants to do something like that, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. The only thing is that going for takedowns takes a lot of energy, and a guy like Emmett, a short, stocky guy, with the style that he has, it requires a lot of energy. So he's got to be careful. He's got to pick his spots so that he's not gassed out. Because you start gassing out against a guy like Calvin Kattar, he's going to jab your face off, right? So that's what Emmett's got to be worried about. But again, when there's so many questions in a fight like that, I don't see the issue with a +190 on Emmett at +200. Like, take a shot on that and see what happens.
I've found so weird lately. Like, I hate kind of holding the kind of chalky favorite at the end of the night. It seems to never work out.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of that throwback, like we were talking about Giga, the chalky favorite at the end of the night against Kattar. But
there you go.
I will say, like we saw Ige try to get the wrestling going against Kattar, that 90% takedown defense will provide a little bit of resistance. And Emmett in his first 5-round fight. So does he want to waste that cardio in the grappling department? It's a good question, but boys, we ready to go to the co-main event here?
Let's do it.
And I think this is a fight that we all have broken down at least once. Unless you had a guest appearance on another podcast, but yeah, I mean this one I think is pretty straightforward. The fans know what they're getting. We're getting a good old backyard brawl here. Outside the kids' baseball game, Donald Cerrone versus Joe Lauzon. We gotta, this one should be a fun one either way it goes. And to keep it short and sweet for you guys, I basically just see one of these fellers getting a finish here. Not too confident which one, but Cerrone by sub +400. With the way Joe's going to be shooting in and trying to get those takedowns going if he gets hurt, or even if this fight progresses, I just think there could be a little bit of value in that direction. But I don't really have anything too crazy on this fight. What about you, Guru?
I lean Team Cerrone, man. I'm on Team Cerrone, but man, after he pulled out last fight, not looking great, but medical reasons, quote unquote. I don't know. I saw him in his interview. He shaved his head, his beard. He looks kind of crazy. I'm like, I think he should get the finish, right? Joe Lauzon hasn't fought since before COVID. He got a dub in Boston against JSP. Joe Lauzon in Boston's a mythical fighter. All of MMA Twitter knows that kind of stuff. They've booked this fight twice now. This is the third time. They gave it the co-main event this time. It's interesting. I don't know that Cerrone's never really enjoyed that pressure. I don't know which Cerrone shows up. He could wake up that day and not want to be there. He's been we appreciate his honesty. He's been very candid and very open about that honesty. Putting him in the co-main event slot, I don't know that helps him. Putting him in Texas, I don't know that helps him. These are all pressure build-up things, things that can, hurt somebody. And Joe Lauzon, again, I'm not really sure where he's at in his career right now. So other than some like IG capping and trying to stack it all up, it's really tough to say. And that it also makes it tough to say, at least for me, whether you even want to bet the fight to go the distance or not. Because if they go in there and they try to kill each other and put on a show, like, sure, yeah. They could also go in there and have like an old man brawl where they also test each other and like respect each other a little bit. I don't know. It just makes me kind of just want to shout out to Clint. Just makes me want to pop and popcorn and watch these two, like you said, two South Park dads just kind of beat the hell out of each other. I think Dan Levy's going to have something a little sharper here. What do you got for us?
I mean, look, historically speaking, Cerrone is a slow starter, but he finishes well. And Lauzon's the exact opposite. He's a very fast starter, but he tends to gas out as fights go on. But Cerrone, look, I love Cerrone. I grew up watching Cerrone. In high school, I'd watch Cerrone in the WEC. But I think Cerrone's completely washed up. And I think that him being a slow starter, even in his prime, is not a good thing against a guy like Lauzon. I think Lauzon's going to come out here and finish Cerrone in the first round. So I think it's a dogger pass situation. Yeah. The only issue is if it goes past the first round, then, it most likely the momentum swings towards Cerrone, just historically speaking with how both these guys fight. But I think that Lauzon finishes him in the first round. I mean, we see guys that would have had no business in there with Cerrone finishing him these days. Like Morano, who I respect a lot. I think Morano's a very tough guy.
Right.
A couple of years ago, Cerrone would have taken Morano to school.
Yeah.
And nowadays, guys like Morano are out here finishing him. And I actually like the fact that Lauzon's taking time off. To me, time off's not that big of a deal when you've had as many fights as a guy like Lauzon's had. So I think Lauzon comes out here and finishes Cerrone in the first round.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking up to see round props to see if I can
Lauzon round one knockout plus 1,000.
Wow. Or just round one in general, because you could sub him plus 650.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's been knocked out. It's hard to sub Cerrone, I would say. So yeah, you're probably right with the KO. That's super interesting.
I definitely think that there's some inherent value that way, and yeah, like Dan's saying, it's definitely one of those dogger pass spots, and it's one that I'm not really itching to have my money on so much as kind of enjoy. But I know when I'm sitting there live watching, I'll be throwing down a little something at least before that.
Wait. You're trying to tell me that you don't want to lay minus 180 on Donald Cerrone? I don't understand.
But we got big plays, so
but he's the favorite for a reason, right?
Nah, well, hey, listen, talking about more sure plays, I think that we kind of settled her up on that fight. But hey, guys, I hope here in the chat, maybe let us know what your best bet is. If you're enjoying the video, give us a little like here. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you're subscribing to at Best Fight Picks, and make sure that you're listening to Half the Battle. Subscribe to them on YouTube. Flying Solo, he's got great interviews right now going on. Like just about every week, Dan Levy's pulling somebody new for an interview.
Not afraid to work a translator in there too. I love that.
Exactly.
That's so awesome.
It's just been incredible to see the number of guys coming through on that show. And Dan, man, it's awesome. So make sure you guys are subscribing there. If somehow you're watching this show and you don't already follow Dan Levy everywhere and watch Half the Battle, yeah, you guys got to be fixing that right now. So
thank you guys.
No, of course. Let's get on to our featured event on the main card here, and one where we got a little action starting to drop. We got Tim Means versus Kevin Holland, and we got a lot of things kind of flashing out at us immediately in this fight. From a tail to tape perspective, Kevin Holland, 9 years younger, only 1 inch taller, but he's got the 6-inch reach advantage. And Kevin Holland's one of those guys that knows how to pop out the 1-2 and use his range with the front kicks. Now, guys that can really wrestle and stuff like that, that's where you start to get, super concerned with Kevin Holland. But, overall, is that going to be the biggest concern here? Because you have to actually take down Kevin Holland to really control him in the long run. So Tim Means, is that really what you're going to be doing? We got Kevin Holland now minus 280, Tim Means plus 225 as we're rolling closer to fight day here. For me, it's Kevin Holland or bust, man. This just seems like they're giving him the slow roll now at 170, where he was kind of on the fast track at 185. Didn't really have to cut weight, could fight all the time, was really focused on just, getting paychecks and going crazy. I mean, he's got 14 fights in just a couple of years here, where Tim Means has got 24 over, about 10 years or something like that. So just goes to show, Kevin Holland really, now is finally kind of taking a step back as far as, how often he's fighting. And it seems like he's putting a little bit more work into his training camps here. Definitely looked improved last time out with his takedown defense. Ended up in a little funny position at the end of round one. But yeah, for me, it's Kevin Holland or bust. We caught him a little before some line movement, got him some parlay action. But Guru, tell me why you're seeing Kevin Holland as the play here.
Because he's a real life superhero. Are you kidding me? He just keeps saving people, burning cars, active shooter situations. The dude, I mean, I don't know if he's just has a knack for trouble. I don't know if he's Batman. We haven't seen him and Batman in the same room together. I'm not. The dude's just a all around awesome person, super cool to root for. And you, I don't know. You laid it up so perfectly. I'm not really sure what else there is to add. I think that they're giving him the slow roll at middleweight, but with the name values, Tim Means, Cowboy Oliveira, these veterans where he can test himself, or maybe he's not too troubled on the feet or too like getting knocked out or too troubled in the wrestling department. I think you've seen that with the line balloon up, that people recognize that. And again, for all this shitting, Tim Means is no fucking slouch. The dirty bird can fight. He's got my respect for sure. I think I cashed on him in a dog somewhere down the line. But yeah, I think that this is a decent sized setup fight for Mr. Kevin Holland, and he's not one to crumble in pressure, as we've seen by his extracurricular activity. So, what do you think, Mr. Levy?
Well, what line did y'all parlay him at?
Minus 220. We laid him straight for 2 units. Or no, I'm sorry. We laid him straight to win 2 units at that price. Then we also threw him in a parlay with a couple other pieces that we'll get to at that same line.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think minus 220 is a lot better than minus 280, minus 290, minus 300. I think now it's
minus 310.
It's getting a bit out there. It's a dogger pass situation at this line, in my opinion. I mean, I think that you talk about the slow roll, but Tim Means is no slouch, and I know he's got that reputation of being a striker, but I mean, the guy has hit, I believe, 5 takedowns in his last 6 fights. The guy can take people down too. He's good everywhere the fight goes. He took down Nick Dalby in his last fight, took down Staropoli twice, even in the loss to Rodriguez, took him down. He scores a lot of takedowns. You know that Kevin Holland's takedown defense is an issue. Not to mention, I bet on him against Alex Cowboy, and I thought he did not look good in that fight, man. I mean, I think he's still getting used to the weight class. Like, he was barely struggling to make 185. Like, he'd weigh in like 183 and stuff like that. So you'd think the cut would be easy, but it seemed like he's still adjusting to the weight class. So maybe he looks better this time. I hope he does. I'm a big fan of Holland. But I definitely see Tim Means kind of winning this fight until something spectacular happens from the Holland side. Like, I don't think that Holland's going to be out here boxing up a guy like Tim Means. And then the thing I'm also worried about, when I bet on Kevin Holland against Darren Stewart, like, dude, shit got sketchy in that 3rd round, like really sketchy, man. So I love me some Kevin Holland. I just don't love me some Kevin Holland at minus 300. You understand? So pure pick is Holland, but at this price, I think it's a dogger pass situation.
Yeah, to give a little more like in depth, I mean, Tim Means definitely is going to bring the volume and the pace on him. He definitely has the control rate too, if you're looking for, what he can possibly bring. But I think a lot of that also came from Kevin Holland kind of getting a little bit out muscled. Like Darren Stewart, you see his physique, you see the way these guys at 185. That extra 15, you get Vettori, you get Brunson. These are some of these are some of the top level guys in the division, let alone top level wrestlers, and the 15 pounds up. I do think Tim Means has a good all around game, and I do think he does look to implement it. I just don't think his frame at 170, he is one of those taller, more wiry guys as it is. So if he was like one of those stockier, like pure wrestlers, I would definitely buy into it a little bit more overall. But that's what made me feel most confident to lay it at this point, was that I think Oliveira also has a bit more power than Means, where he could threaten and hurt Holland, especially with those kicks. I don't think Means has the same sting on any of those strikes to really make Holland. And I think, Holland comes out round 2. Yeah, it's easy to say, oh, well, he knocked him out quick. You didn't really get to see much. But yeah, he finally got down to business and at least took care of it. But yeah, I could definitely see myself sweating this bad as it plays out. I could definitely see that happening.
100%, because I remember watching the Holland Oliveira fight, and that's the meme. He's on his back at the end of the first round, giving the thumbs up because he's nearly getting choked out, but obviously not because he's giving a thumbs up. But like, yeah, he didn't look worth the price tag at minus 300 there. But yeah, no, definitely not known for his takedown defense, but neither are Star Poli or Nicholas Dalby either. Not fantastic wrestlers. So it will be interesting. Like you said, I love what the points you made about Tim Means' frame. I think it's important.
I don't think you can just write off that Darren Stewart fight. Like, yeah, Vettori and Brunson are top guys. I'm not going to debate that. That's facts. Fair. But Stewart took him down 3 times, man. Stewart is not a top guy. Stewart's not even in the UFC anymore, man.
Right. No, I agree. So the reason why I'd write it off, though, I mean, or try to, is because he after that, he obviously didn't try to address the wrestling holes, because he went on and it was a huge fucking problem. And it was in 2020, that fight, but it was 6 fights ago. So like, it's, in fight time, it's a lot longer. He has so much experience since the Darren Stewart fight, which was only his 3rd UFC fight. Now he's on his whatever. Now, I guess, going into his 10th or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, I'm not debating that, but the thing is this. Sure. Look, so he gets taken out 3 times by Darren Stewart. Let's not even bring up this Charlie Ontiveros guy. Gets taken down twice by Jacare, gets taken down 6 times by Brunson, gets taken down 11 times by Vettori, gets taken down once by Dawkins, and gets taken down twice by Alex Cowboy. So he's been taken down every single fight since. So you can't sit here and tell me that his takedown defense has improved. Like, come on, man, it hasn't. I mean, the proof is he gets taken down every single fight. But there's always that room for Kevin Holland to create some magic somewhere along the way. And I'd assume that's what you're banking on, because, I mean, I don't think that he's going to come out here and outbox Tim Means. I think he could knock down Tim Means. I think he could hurt Tim Means. But if it's just jab for jab and stuff like that, I think Tim Means is going to get the best of that. It's just that at some point, Holland's got that ability. He's a very talented guy. He's a very physical guy. He's going to be huge for 170 pounds. He has a way of creating chaos in there that it's stuff you can't cap on tape. It's stuff, it just happens, like knocking a dude out like Jacare off his back, like you can't watch tape and predict something like that to happen. So it's probably going to be something wild for Kevin Holland for sure. But you can't sit here and tell me his takedown defense has improved, because no, it hasn't.
No, I definitely wouldn't try to sell that bill of goods.
I think ultimately, the final point here, I see a little bit of a popular play out there. Tim Means has lost by submission 5 times. So if he goes to that grappling game plan, we did see Holland give Jacare a little bit of trouble with his guard, leading to that knockout off his back. So could Holland use that black belt and maybe secure a little triangle or a little something on Means?
It's a big question. He's a long guy. So there's definitely a chance.
Yeah, especially if we're expecting there to be that takedown to come, like we are expecting it. That is something that should happen at some point throughout the fight. And look, hey, we got Terrence joining us too.
We do. He's hanging out. Hopefully he'll behave himself.
All right. Well, hey, that brings us on to our next fight here. We got Joaquin Buckley versus Albert Reyev. This is one of those fights where I think that we're going to see some action. Reyev, he was willing to do a little stand and bang action with Roman Kopylov, but eventually realized that, his path was going to be to start working those takedowns and getting that control going as he gets knocked down to start round 2. Joaquin Buckley, he decided to start using he's actually a little bit more of an active wrestler than you would imagine, just based off of watching, like his highlights of his knockouts and stuff. So 7 out of 20 takedowns in 6 total fights. It's actually, not too bad, but getting wrestled round 3 versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan also kind of leaves one of those bitter tastes in your mouth overall. But to look at the line, we got Albert Duraev at minus 225, Buckley at plus 185. I mean, Buckley, you imagine, is live for a knockout if Roman Kopylov could land a knockdown on Duraev. But you got to imagine Duraev is, also pretty liable to land a little submission action here with 9 subs in his career. And the way that Buckley was just giving his back to Al Hassan in round 3, if this fight's going to be a wrestling, drag him out fight and Buckley doesn't get the knockout chance, I think you could see Duraev, finding a little submission as the fight goes on. So I think either guy's live for it and, see fight not go the distance. I got minus 190. So that's a little parlay piece with, I actually did it with the Lauzon, Joe and Cerrone. We got, I put those two together. So it was minus 200 for the Cerrone fight, minus 190 for this fight. I'll do like a little 1-unit parlay for some violence. It'll be fun.
I totally love that. I honestly will probably end up following that. Yeah, man. Joaquin Buckley ended up having Dale, right, from the Detroit Center of Survival, whatever the fuck that thing is, in his corner last fight. I guess it worked out. He won a split decision there, and yeah, Buckley's somebody like it's obvious, huge power, strong, explosive, good spinning stuff, but will swing himself out of position, and that is a problem. And you see somebody like Duraev who's patient and he likes to use his inside leg kick. He'll use his lead hand a lot to judge the range. And he's physical, and he will also throw a ton into his strikes. And he's also shown some decent defensive takedown defense. But the problem is oftentimes, especially when you're fighting somebody like Joaquin Buckley, when he's striking, he'll keep his chin really high up in the air. He'll also throw unprotected leg kicks, lunges into his punches, part of overthrowing, and dropped and rocked by Kopylov in round 2, like you said. Dana White Contender Series winner. So why not fade him? And he hasn't taken his big UFC loss here. And in a card where there's a ton of these heavy favorites, it's really going to be important navigating the landmines, really not grabbing one of these guys that's going to be a price tag that you don't want to lay. And I feel like Duraev is that landmine that I kind of want to avoid. So I do like Joaquin Buckley here, and maybe a little grandma couch cushion money, but with some real money, I think I like your parlay. Dan Levy, our guy.
Listen, man, I'm a big fan of Buckley. I like watching him. I met him in Florida. He's a very nice guy, but you got to be special for me to pick against a Russian, man. I mean, the only time recently I picked against a Russian was actually last week with Della Madalena against Meave. I picked him there. But nah, man, I got Duraev here. I think that he's a very physical guy. I think he's got knockout power. I think he can revert back to the wrestling. And I think he's extremely tough, too. I mean, you saw him get knocked down that last fight. You saw him completely exhausted, and he was still able to grind out that third round, the deciding round, and put it on that guy. So I got Duraev here. I think that, look, Buckley is exciting. He's explosive. He can mix in takedowns like you mentioned, which is cool to see. But he slows down as fights progress. There's some questions about his chin. He's a little bit shorter for the weight class. You mentioned Duraev is a Contender Series guy, so you should fade him. You didn't say that about Kevin Holland, who's also a Contender Series guy, so that's some selective reasoning, my man.
It's early in their career, early Dana White Contender Series people, not on their second or third contract. But that's fair. That's that's a lot of prefaces.
I'm just bringing up facts.
I appreciate it.
Listen, it's a tough one. I mean, just in terms of the line. And look, Duraev has been knocked out before. I mean, we brought up Amiv. Knocked him out back in 2012.
Yeah.
And he's been knocked out 3 times to be exact. So, and he got hurt badly his last fight. So, I mean, there's a chance that Buckley can put him out. I'm not denying that. And I wish you luck with the bet. You got good odds on an established UFC fighter who's a dangerous guy. We know what he's capable of, so we'll see what happens. But my lean is Duraev. Obviously not crazy about the price.
Do you see him winning by finish, or do you think he just grinds out a decision? Do you think that gas tank of Buckley leads to one of those, like, quick taps at the end there?
I don't know, bro. It's a tough one. It's tough. I could
Mhm.
see a knockout. I could see a decision.
Gotcha.
I'm just going with the Russian.
There you go. All right, fair enough. I
Buckley
dig
by
that.
knockout plus 330 seems a little egregious too. But
That's a
yeah,
solid price if that's the way you're going.
yeah, it's super interesting. And I just kind of wonder if people are like, I don't know, if people just kind of are on the Russian and it just makes that line start to be a little wider than it should be.
I mean, dude, why even fuck around with props when your guy's a plus 200 dog? Like,
That's true too.
yeah,
like it's like the Ngannou example against Gan. He was already the dog. Why do I have to play him by KO just to,
Lose money.
yeah, like fuck all that, dude. I mean, your guy's a plus 200 dog and you're picking him outright. Like, no need to get fancy, man. Just
True.
bet him straight.
There you go. Bet him
that is some
straight.
sound advice. We
Don't
got our
hate it.
next fight here. We got Demir Ismagulov versus Guram Kutateladze. This one, I am expecting this one to be just a fun, close fight. I think no matter where it goes, whether I think the person dictating the forward pace and the general pace of the action overall is going to be Ismagulov. We'll see him, mixing in the takedowns. We'll see him on the front foot, probably a little bit more overall volume with the hands than we're going to see from Guram. But Guram, I think, is going to be a little bit more of the explosive guy. I think he's got a little bit more in the arsenal that's a little flashy, catches the judges, catches the fans' eyes. But at the same time, he's also got a lot of good fundamentals and, that left hook that he can throw. He switches stances a bit. I think he's, so experienced having fought from such a young age. It's really exciting to watch a guy like that. And Ismagulov, I mean, undefeated in the UFC, and he's grinded out, some decisions. He's looked dangerous while doing so. It's not like he's not landing volume or landing ground and pound or looking for finishes. Just hasn't worked out that way so far. I just think this isn't one of those guys that you finish easily either. Right now, you got the line. Kutateladze is at a plus 135, and yeah, Ismagulov at a minus 155. So I stay leaning the Georgian direction here. Based off the line, I do think that this could be closer to an even, because even with the wrestling, I just don't think Guram's going to be easily controlled. Took his debut on 10 days' notice against undefeated Mateusz Gamrot and certainly won rounds 1 and 2 before gassing out a bit in round 3. I know he said he thought he lost the fight, but a Georgian guy like that getting battered round 3, gassed out, feeling like he would have actually been killed out there, had the fight kept going, yeah, you felt like you lose. But dude, you won rounds 1 and 2. If you do the same thing against Demir, you cash a bet. So I personally already played Guram myself for a couple units. I think, I like if he gets taken down, he's active from the bottom. He works to get back to his feet. He uses reversals and everything like that. And on the feet, I just think he's going to be landing the more impactful strikes. So I'm willing to take at least a little chance on him. It's not going to be my biggest play, but I think it's a fun way to take a guy coming off a decent layoff, but he looks in great shape.
This is a super, super interesting stylistic matchup. You see somebody like Demir, who really likes to chip away, with the fundamentals that he uses. He'll work the body. He's not afraid to do it. I think it comes with the experience, and when you work the body, man, it creates more openings. He will throw heavy into his strikes. He's patient. He does have solid defensive grappling. I think it is kind of interesting again when you have the clash of styles with somebody like Guram, who has such a wide array of kicking attacks, axe kicks, spinning heel kicks, and what you love to see against the at the time undefeated Gamrot was how aggressive he was from the bottom. Working submissions, working to scramble to get back up, good rubber guard, good butterfly hooks to reverse the takedowns. Those things were all good. And, the problems obviously would be the questionable cardio that, is just a question because, no knock on him for getting tired after grappling with Gamrot for 10 minutes, but he got tired, so we want to see him improve that. And he tends to sometimes keep his chin up in the air. So when he's striking, so you don't always like to see that. I do like this fight to go the distance at I believe at a chalky whatever minus 190, minus 175 on DraftKings. So yeah, I don't mind that because like you had said, TB, both guys super talented and tough. Let's hand it off to our guy. What's up, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, look, both these guys are super talented. I think you can make an argument they're both top 15 guys right now. I mean, just to put in perspective, number 9 is Tony Ferguson, number 13 is Dan Hooker. You mean to tell me that Damir Ismagulov can't beat Tony Ferguson and Dan Hooker? Because I think he absolutely can. Therefore, I think he's a top 15 guy right now. And then Guram already beat number 12, Mateus Gamrot. So I think there's an argument to be said or to be made that they're both top 15 guys right now. With Guram, very hard kicker, and when he gets taken down, man, the dude's extremely flexible, man. He'll throw up some stuff that not a lot of guys will. He's going rubber guard, which sometimes can be a red flag, but he uses it to get up. So I like what I see. It's just I think this guy Damir Ismagulov is something special, man. I mean, you look at this guy's numbers. His numbers are absolutely spectacular, and we have like an hour sample size. And this guy, basically, he only absorbs 1.9 strikes per 15 per minute. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Defense is 65%. Takedown defense is 100%. I mean, like.
Yeah,
those are the kind of numbers that'll make you smile, man. Those are beautiful numbers. I just think this guy's on a different level. Like, I like Guram. I think he's super talented. And like I said, I think if Guram fights Tony Ferguson, if Guram fights Dan Hooker, he's beating those guys. He already beat Gamrot. Guram's a super talented guy, and he's going to try his best, no doubt. I just think that Ismagulov's on a different level. That jab is so damn sharp, doesn't take any unnecessary risks, is rarely there to be hit. I mean, even when he got hit by Alves, it's more so Alves is this explosive monster who just charges forward and creates that chaos. And I'm not saying that Guram can't do that. It's just that when you see how Ismagulov reacted to those spots, I like how he reacted. He got knocked down, and then he gets on top of the guy and almost gets a 10-8 round. Like, so those are the kind of things I like to see, especially when we're talking about a potential top 5 guy down the line. And if Ismagulov can continue making 155 pounds, because I know he had that issue with that last fight that was supposed to happen. Was it against who was
Magomed Mustafa?
Yeah, that's right. He was supposed to fight him, but yeah, he like missed weight by like 7 pounds or something.
Yeah.
But if you look at his Instagram, I think he's rectified that, man. He looks in insane shape. Guram's obviously in great shape too. So I guess from the judges' standpoint, if there's not a finish, it's like, do the judges favor, the sharp hands of Ismagulov or that kicking heavy game of Guram? And these are boxing judges for the most part, so I think they're going to favor the hand. So I'm going Damir Ismagulov, and I think I'm going to bet Damir Ismagulov, especially as the line comes down. But to your credit, betting Guram, I mean, you bet a solid guy at dog money, so I don't blame you. I mean, I think that you bet that guy at dog money long term, you're going to come out on the right side of the coin. I just think he's fighting a phenom Saturday is the issue with that. So I'm going Damir Ismagulov by unanimous decision.
Yeah, what I also love about Damir as well is that if he does use the wrestling, you're not just banking on him to just lay and prey on top of somebody. He will rain down damage. He loves to do that. So that I love to see that as well. It was kind of it's been making me. I've been back and forth on this fight all week.
Yeah, we obviously I think one of the benefits, like we talked about some line movement earlier, missing Kevin Holland now at a much bigger favorite. Make sure you follow our Bet MMA because we'll be plugging all of our plays in there, right when we hit them. So that way you see before the line movement, if you catch it before the show, sometimes, we have our bets out there early to catch it. So Make sure you give us a follow there. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Give a like on this video. Follow our boy Dan Levi at Half the Battle, best fight picks. And we're moving right along here because we got Julian Marquez versus Gregory Rodriguez, Hobocop, Cuban Missile Crisis. We got some good nicknames in this one, and I think the action that comes in this fight is going to match the awesome nicknames. I think it'll be a good time because even if this fight goes into like the grappling realm, I think both guys are so well versed that for even how big they are, we're going to see some cool scrambles, back takes, front chokes. Marquez loves going for some front chokes. So if Rodriguez is shooting for those takedowns, you're bound to see a little bit of action in that regard too. But Rodriguez loves to stand and bang. So I think at least for the most part here, you don't want to be banking on some takedowns happening unless unless things get a little sketchy on the feet. Maybe Rodriguez learned his lesson from the last time out, but yeah, I mean, I think either way, you see Rodriguez now at -170. The line's been shrinking over the week, and Marquez at +150. I can see an argument for either side. I'm not really rushing to play the favorite here. Gregory Rodriguez, I do see him with a nice size advantage, and probably a bit of a grappling advantage. It's just how much can you trust that cardio if he does get into the grappling? And we've seen Marquez with that cardio before. So realistically, I might take a little sprinkle at the end of the day on Marquez based on, the size differential of weigh-ins and kind of taking a chance on that cardio. But I do think, the person with the crisper boxing on the front foot is probably going to be Rodriguez, the guy that might land, the more damaging shots, the guy that might be able to do a little bit more controlling when it comes to the wrestling. Because as you see, Marquez, 38% opponent control rate, and Rodriguez a 17% control rate himself. If anyone's going to be doing it, that's the direction it's going to go. You just, after the last fight against Prashogian, where it was like that was the path to victory, and you don't see Rodriguez really go to it, it's tough to trust it in this spot. So, I mean, I just don't have a super confident play at this point here. I think this is one of those ones I do really want to see the weigh-ins. Both guys, Rodriguez coming back a little bit short notice after a war, and Marquez coming off a couple pullouts and maybe an injury or something. So I want to see what these guys are looking like. Guru, you got something here?
I'm so excited for this fight, but so sketched out, like you said. The grappling deficiencies or opponent control rate problem for Julian Marquez is fucking serious at nearly 38% opponent control rate. That's a big problem. Yeah, he's a good submission guy, but I don't know how quickly you're submitting Gregory Rodriguez without hurting him first. And again, I still don't know how quickly you're submitting Gregory Rodriguez. And you see somebody like RoboCop at the same time. You look at his stats there, and he's getting outlanded, man. Not great. 5.3 to 5.76, and then when you look at his pace at distance, 11.5 landed to 14.7. So he's eaten 3 more shots at distance from Marquez, who has really strong, straight technical punches. For a guy that's maybe not even necessarily known for his striking, he does have some decent power. You see that he's the one guy with the knockdown in the UFC. And then you look at Julian Marquez's stats from distance, and he's outpacing his opponents by 2 strikes. So you have a guy that's eaten 3 strikes while a guy is landing 2. But you also have a guy that's getting controlled for nearly 40% of his fights, while the other guy's controlling his opponents for 16%. It's going to be your striker versus grappler kind of, whereas Julian Marquez is actually a decent grappler. As you can see, it's got me a little jumbled. Maybe Dan Levi can help iron me out here at Best Fight Picks, half the Battle Pod, very own.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like Gregory Rodriguez is so much better than Julian Marquez. Like, it's just that Marquez is one of those guys that'll look like absolute shit and then will finish you. Like you see that fight against Phil Hawes, getting his ass kicked the entire fight, finds a way to knock him out. The Maki Pitolo fight, getting his ass handed to him the entire fight, finds a way to finish the fight. And you look at someone like Gregory Rodriguez, and like the skills are there, man. I mean, he can bang, he's got power, he's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but the decision making is like, dude, that last fight against the Armin Petrosian guy who was like a former K1 striker, like, dude, you had one job. Even though I actually thought Gregory won that fight live, it was like, why are you fighting with your ego? It's like the famous quote, I'm gonna stand and bang with Paul Daly. Like, it's like, why, dude? Like, why are you gonna take the path of most resistance? I don't get it, man. And then you see him get knocked out by a guy like Jordan Williams. So it's like, you're not going to catch me laying no chalk on Gregory Rodriguez, even though I think he's better than Julian Marquez literally everywhere. It's just back to your point, the cardio, the chin, the decision making. Like Gregory, how are you going to fuck this one up, man? Like, you're so much better than this guy. Like, what are you going to do to mess this one up, right? So, I mean, my pick is Gregory, but like, you don't cry, don't throw your remote at the TV when he gets finished in the third round.
That's so funny. Yeah, and shout out to you, TB. I'm pretty sure you texted me pre-tape. You're like, I'm pretty sure I like Gregory Rodriguez, but he's probably just gonna be winning until he loses. And
Exactly.
I just kind of laughed at that, but that's again like pre-tape last week. So
Yeah,
that's
we're getting to
that's
a
good
point
read.
here. Listen, we don't quite have the same amount of time in the game, the experiences as
Somebody
Dan
like Dan
Levy
Levy.
or some other guys in the game. But there's start to be some patterns. You start to see enough fights from guys where you start to pick up. They're like prototype. Like what kind of badges would they get in NBA 2K if like scorer, slasher. It's like you start to see like what type of traits these guys have overall, and like that's why you can't trust these guys. There's certain people. It's like that guy should never be minus 200, or
Yeah.
stuff like that. But maybe Rodriguez, against some people could be because he does have that talent. But it's like against a guy like Marquez, like there's a reason that line's been shrinking. So could we fade the narrative? Maybe fight goes the distance.
That's what I kind of like
Plus
because both of
150.
these guys are tough son of a bitches.
But
Like,
fight end round 3 is also plus 500. So like, I could see some gassage in that Marquez little late. In fact, if you want to say Marquez round 3, if you want to go crazy, is plus 1200.
that's crazy too.
It's crazy. I'm not saying I'm throwing my life savings on it, but
You might.
not that I
You're
have
not?
that. Not
You
that I
might-
have that
you
much
might
of my
be
life
saying that.
savings, so I might be throwing my life savings on it. So.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, listen, we're back to being a broke college student, guys. That's why we're able to record at 9:00 now. I don't have the same work obligations, so we don't have the same financials to be throwing on our bets here anymore as well.
Oh my
It's all good though. We're still having a great time, and we're getting down to our next fight here.
Having a little therapy session with you guys.
That's right. Let's go, guys. So now we got Adrian Yanez versus Tony Kelly. I mean, this
Our
one,
boy.
listen, friend of the show, Team Yanez got the shirt on, so maybe I am extremely biased here, guys, but I end up seeing Tony Kelly as a bit of a step down from Davey Grant. I just think Tony Kelly called out Yanez on the mic after his win against Randy Costa. They had a common opponent that they both finished, and it ended up being a fight that makes a lot of sense. But Tony Kelly in the small cage against a gasser like Randy Costa, against a guy that you can really get inside of, who doesn't have great defensive footwork. Ooh, yeah, that's oh man, mark that one down to clip up. But overall, yeah. So I see it as a point here now against a guy, Adrian Yanez, who gets brought into the Aljamain Sterling camp for his boxing credentials. Someone that's got really great defensive footwork. Someone that, I know he's been hit a solid amount, but I think when you're hit a solid amount by a guy like Davey Grant, that's going to wing forward, throw punches at really weird angles, combinations that aren't, of the traditional or orthodox variety, yeah, your numbers are going to suffer a little bit.
What about Randy Costa? Let's not ignore the fact that Randy Costa was lighting him the hell up.
Yes.
Yeah,
So I think Randy Costa also had a like 3 or 4 inch reach advantage in that fight, and Yanez, definitely starts a little bit slower normally, but I also don't think that Tony Kelly has the same type of reach that Costa did, or the same type of power. He started to look a little bit flashier though. You saw in his last fight.
Mm-hmm.
He did have, some interesting spinning attacks, switching stances, getting in and out, solid amount of volume. I do see where he's made some advancements overall. I just don't think he has that same type of power that Grant did to really, or even Costa did. And I get, I just think overall stylistically, Kelly's not going to be able to just get to that clinch position and just wear on Yanez the same way that he kind of got Costa into those. Because even though Costa's, the one with the quote unquote dominant, advantageous control position. The fact that he's even in those positions at all with Tony Kelly meant that gas tank was just going to be depleted immediately. Yanez, I trust his gas tank a bit more. I trust his hands a bit more. I trust his footwork a bit more. And I just think, he's basically the same line that Costa was going in against Tony Kelly. So he's going to be a second leg of my parlay.
Yeah, I love everything that you said. I was ready to I was ready to really do my due diligences on Adrian Yanez, specifically because he was, friend of the show, had him on, and I don't want to just be on somebody at minus 330 just because he's the homie. But after doing the due diligences, I do. I feel good about Adrian's chances in this fight. I think that even if it goes the distance, I like Adrian's chances to win this fight. In fact, I actually think the fight does go the distance. Tony Kelly has shown, other than to be kind of racist, he's shown himself to be a fairly well-rounded UFC fighter. He's got the Muay Thai blue belt. He's got the Golden Gloves, championship. He's got the 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu background. Like he's well-rounded. He's worked really hard on his craft. So he gets respect, and I can see why the 300 price tag on Adrian Yanez can prove problematic, because you think about somebody that could wrestle somebody like Adrian, who likes to stand straight up and in front of his opponents and likes to box. That could be a problem. It's certainly something to look at moving forward. Similarly to your point, I'm not sure how much of a step up, if at all, Tony Kelly is to Davey Grant. He's certainly more he's more orthodox, right? Davey Grant's fucking crazy. He's throwing wing and shit. Like you can't really game plan as well, or like bring somebody. It's really tough to bring somebody into training camp to emulate Davey Grant. I think emulating Tony Kelly is a much simpler game plan to get ready for, which again, when you're Adrian Yanez and you've made a couple high profile friends, I think your skill acumen is going to get a lot better to handle somebody like Tony Kelly. Let's hear what Dan's had to say. Dan's liked a lot of dogs tonight, so
I mean, the issue is that price on Adrian Yanez sucks, and the price is how it is because he said that someone was a dirty Brazilian, so everyone's mad at him, and it's like, I mean, it is what it is, man. That's why he's plus 250, because he's not a nice guy. Like, who gives a fuck if he's a nice guy or not? Like, he's still he's a damn good fighter. I love Yanez. I bet on him a lot. It's just I'm not gonna bet on him at like minus 335, like, especially with the way he fights. He likes to stand and bang. We're not gonna get takedowns from Yanez. Like, he's not gonna throw too many kicks. He's throwing some more kicks here and there than he has in the past, but like, we know exactly what Yanez is going to do. It's boxing for MMA, and he's pretty damn good at it. It's just that when you're talking about a guy like Kelly, Kelly's got a lot of output himself. Kelly's a very durable guy himself. Kelly's big for the weight class. Like, Kelly's going to be there to bang. So I don't see this being a minus 335 type fight. Like, if I'm thinking minus 335, then I'm thinking he's going to go out there and stop this guy. I'm thinking he's going to go out there and destroy this guy, and I just don't see that being the case. I see it. I do lean Yanez, but I don't think it's going to be a destruction. I see it being a 29-28 Adrian Yanez. They're going to have a nice, honest fight. They're going to stand and bang for 3 straight rounds. Yanez is from Texas. This fight is in Texas, so judges are going to like him. But I mean, I don't think there's any value at this price, man. It's going to be an honest knock.
That's fair. I think what ultimately led me to, having a little bit more confidence. I do think you look at the defense of Kelly, given his opponents that he's faced between Kai Kamaka, Ali Al-Casey, he's at a 50% defense, whereas Yanez is up at 60%, and they're both landing similarly with their accuracy. But, Yanez's pace comes where 95% of his time is spent at distance, and Kelly's only 50% at distance. So for him to keep up that pace, he's got to clinch you up and land a bunch of clinch strikes to, maintain his pace from distance. In my mind, whereas Yanez, I think, you're right though. I lean the Yanez plus 175 by decision, more so than the plus 130 by knockout. But for Tony Kelly to get a little bit hurt and wobbled on the feet by Ali Alkazi also leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I bet on him in that fight, and it was closer than I wanted.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Mhm.
there was a takedown threat in that
Mhm.
fight. Al-Casey's like
That's
an
fair.
Iranian wrestler or whatever. Like
Mhm.
there's no takedown threat here against Adrian Yanez at all. So
That's right.
when you're expecting a guy to take you down and then he starts banging with you, that's going to throw you for a loop. Whereas this whole training camp, he knows what to expect from Yanez. And if you're going to bring up numbers, I don't leave out the fact that Yanez absorbs a lot more strikes than Tony Kelly. And it's not just that Grant fight. It's also that Randy Costa fight. Like, we know Randy's a very talented guy, but for the UFC standard, Randy ain't exactly the toughest. But Randy was lighting him the F up in that first round and a half, man. Like, just jabbing his head back at will. It's just Yanez is a really tough guy. And then you saw the way Tony Kelly broke Randy Costa. Not that I'm not trying to do no MMA math, but like Tony Kelly didn't even need to overcome any adversity in that fight. It was like smooth sailing, just took him to school right away.
Yeah.
Yanez, like, we were like, damn, is Yanez about to get knocked out? So I don't know, man. I see this being a close fight. Again, I do lean Yanez, those Texas judges, the Texas poster boy, but I don't think he's gonna take him to school or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's really astute of you to say. I think the line is too wide, and when you look at Adrian, who just won obviously we kind of keep ignoring it. He won a split decision versus Davey Grant. Obviously, the one judge that had it 30-27, Davey Grant was literally smoking a crack pipe during the fight instead of watching. But it still happened. It's the three people that matter. So yeah, if you're leaving rounds that can be interpreted the other way, it can be a problem. And somebody like Tony Kelly, who's willing to mix it up, could make you sit there Sunday morning and be like, why did I lay Adrian Yanez at minus 350 or something? But I do think at the end of the day he does pull it out. But it's gonna be dicey. We're gonna be gripping those tickets.
So yeah, I'm fixing a little something here because your boy can't spell on occasion, but it's okay. We're getting it all together.
To the best of us.
When you got names like Jasmine Jasdavicius and you got to spell them right in both places, occasionally that doesn't happen. We got it though. We're all good. Now we got stats and profile information coming up for you. And we also got Jasmine Jasdavicius versus Natalia Silva. Not going to lie, got a gigantic bad taste in my mouth from betting Kay Hansen as a huge favorite moving up a weight class against Jasmine. We have to learn our lessons. We have to learn our lessons because that was it's not even a simp bet because like I'm not even like really a Kay Hansen sympathizer in that regard. It was just like, I think she's like the better prospect. And I hated how Jasmine fought on Contender Series. I was just like, she's so bad. And I see the size of face-offs. I was like, I already laid the bet. That's it. Like, it was extremely dumb on my end.
Yeah, you could hedge. We could hedge out.
Yeah,
I was skeptical on tape, and then not strong enough in my roots. So that was very, very these are the lessons that we learn, and we're open about them. That's why we bring it up. It's very easy to kind of sweep that under the rug and never mention it again. But we bring it up to be honest.
But Natalia Silva, I mean, does she have what it takes here? Is she the natural flyweight that it takes to sink the Jasmine Jasdavicius landmine? I'm not leaning that way so much, but Jasdavicius a minus 240 and Silva plus 195. I could definitely see the reasons why we might want to dig and try to see if Silva's the play. Guru, you feeling that way?
No, I'm not on the dog here. It's kind of, to me, it's almost the favorite or pass. And then I did see a prop I liked on the dog being if the fight doesn't go the distance. I mean, if the fight does go the distance, the bet is voided. And obviously, so the fight, if there's a finish, you got Silva at plus 100. I feel like she's kind of sub or bust.
What? Where on FanDuel?
Yes, FanDuel.
It's plus 150 on DraftKings.
All right, cool.
Money line finish only.
Very
cool. So if that's the way you're going,
Silva's super. She's very good. She is a hot prospect. She's a young up and comer. Problem is, her last fight was when she was 22 years old in Jungle Fight for the flyweight championship. She won, great. But again, that she was 22 years old is before COVID. Now she's 25. We haven't seen her. You imagine that she's in the gym every day, working really hard, making improvements. Great. I still need to see them. It makes it really tough to fade her, or I should pick her and then fade the favorite in Jazz Davicius, who's shown obviously the wrestling acumen that she obviously has, being a Canadian Olympic silver medalist in wrestling.
Damn, those are some. That's serious.
Yeah, freestyle wrestling. Yeah, she can do it. And she's got the jiu-jitsu blue belt. Now she's got the background in the Muay Thai. She's trying to mix it all together, which is why it's, again, more insane.
She's trying.
We tried to pick Kay Hansen to like wrestle an Olympic wrestler. Insane. Anyway, I just think that Silva is going to be too willing to just pull guard and try to get the sub. So she could get the sub. That'd be pretty cool. Plus 600, you could get her at the sub, or again, plus 100 with some sort of protected bet. But yeah, I just think that Jasmine, it probably wins a boring decision. What do you think, Dan?
Listen, man, I mean, when you got a wrestler versus an armbar from guard, girl, I mean, you got to lean towards the wrestler. I mean, listen, I know it's women's MMA and arm bars from guard do happen from time to time, so I'm not writing off that possibility. All I'm saying is that that's the only possibility. Like, I'd be pretty damn shocked if Natalia Silva was out here body locking Jasmine, getting on top of her, grinding her out. There's going to be one person winning the minutes of this fight, and that's Jasmine Jasudavicius. Listen, I definitely think she's green, and I think she needs a lot of work. And I think that she's definitely a work in progress, but I think she's been making improvements. And also she's very big and physical for that weight class. And that's going to take you a long way. So I think she's moving in the right direction. And I think with a couple more fights under her belt, you might start to see her take on some more well-established names. So give me Jasudavicius via decision here.
It is interesting. Silva has lost 5 times in her career so far, 3 by finish. But Jasmine only has 3 finishes out of her 7 wins. So I don't know. Is this fade the narrative time?
TB, just a note for later. You seem to have Jasudavicius labeled as a straw weight.
Oopsies, what's going on, man? I'm really fucking up Jasmine this time, aren't I? Jeez.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's good. We got a minute anyway, so we can do that. And as you pull that up, we can obviously plug Half the Battle. You should make sure you're listening to that podcast. If you like Dan Levy's breakdown so far on this show, I'm sure you're going to like him on his own podcast. So make sure you check that out at Best Fight.
Going live tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I assume so. Going at Best Fight Picks on Twitter. Always got the fire tweets out there, whether it's funny or poignant. He's got the goods, man.
Hell yeah. But that'll we just as we could definitely get on to the next fight here. We'll be rejoined very shortly and momentarily.
I honestly think that this was a fight that got Natalia Silva in the door. You want this 25-year-old prospect to have the option to come train at the PI, to taste what it's like to be in the UFC. Because she's shown all the acumen. She's clearly, I don't want to say diamond in the rough, because she's still kind of fairly polished, but she's clearly somebody that has a lot of potential.
Yeah. I'll take Jasmine. I mean, straight up. I don't know if it finds its way into a parlay. I don't know if I'll find a prop for it, but keep an eye on our Bet MMA, because I have a feeling it'll end up somewhere on there. Get a little action going. Our next fight, we got Court Mcgee versus Jeremiah Wells. I was actually extremely surprised I was putting together the stats for this fight. Court Mcgee only 2 years older than Wells, even though he's got a 17 UFC fight advantage. Jeremiah Wells is 35 already. That was something that kind of blew me away as I was getting down into everything. And you see Wells coming out of Renzo Gracie Philly. They've been on quite the run. But Court Mcgee, he's also been on quite the run himself. You got Court Mcgee kind of started as a little bit of an underdog. Now he's sitting at -120. Jeremiah Wells at +100. I'm siding with the line movement here. Court Mcgee, I just think, is going to be a step up from our buddy Blood Diamond. He's going to be a step up from the corpse of Worley Alves. And I do think Jeremiah Wells is going to have, the explosive advantage. I think that Jeremiah Wells might be able to land one of those big flashy takedowns early, with the strength. But you see him already slowing down towards the end of round one. His corner's like, bro, like, you got to chill out going into round two. So what does he do? He starts running forward, winging punches until he knocks out Alves in the first 20 seconds. You don't really see that cardio tested at all, where he chokes out Blood Diamond from the back with like the Jury style. Like, he doesn't even have a hook in. He doesn't, whatever. And all of a sudden, Blood Diamond's just like unconscious. It was like he's turtling, like trying to get up, and it's like done.
He was also using the fence super well to kind of like protect his side from getting to get those hooks in. But yeah, he's so strong.
We haven't seen Wells really extended as far as the UFC goes, but in his career, he's 2-2 on the regional level when it comes to going to decision. Court Mcgee, he's only been finished once by knockout, and that's against Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think. That's pretty understandable when you look at guys that are getting finishes against you. It makes sense. So does Jeremiah Wells, a guy who's a little bit, sloppy with the way he enters in the striking, everything like that. And overall, Court Mcgee's got the 2-inch height, 2-inch reach advantage. So I really think Court Mcgee's going to find his way on top here as the fight goes on. He's really going to wear into the cardio and the gas tank of Wells. And while originally I was quick to say I want Court Mcgee by decision at plus 175, I actually think I want Court Mcgee round 3 or decision, as Guru was pointing out to me so kindly as I steal all of his thunder at this moment. Jeez. For round 3 or decision plus 155. Guru, so explain why you so beautifully landed on that.
Yeah, no, listen, you set that up perfectly, man. So I appreciate it. And I'll preface it by saying, quote unquote, fade Renzo Gracie Philly guys at your own risk. But Court Mcgee is ready to give him the old man vet lesson tour of the octagon, man. It's gonna be we know what Jeremiah Wells wants to do. He wants to grapple with him. And we kind of saw that last fight with Court Mcgee being a dog to Ramiz Brahimaj. And I'm like, listen, I don't know that Brahimaj is going to be able to take him down and control him like that. McGee's a decent enough wrestler in his own right. And that's exactly what happened. Court Mcgee definitely a little bit more submission. Literally, he's all submissions or he doesn't win a fight. And you kind of see something similarly with Jeremiah Wells, and he kind of needs a finish or he's not necessarily winning a fight. So you kind of got the decision master versus a guy that needs a finish. And, this decision master's, only been finished by knockout once. So yeah, I do like Court Mcgee here. I like him to, honestly, like, again, like you should expect to watch Court Mcgee lose round 1. Like, he should survive, hopefully, and, probably drop the round, but he should be able to come back, and Wells should be gassed out and frustrated at that point. And, you'll see a couple takedowns from Mcgee himself. We've only seen Wells face one takedown. So, nobody's tried to take him down because he's only been in a couple fights, A, and B, he's so fucking aggressive when he comes out and starts that he's generally finished his opponents. So, yeah, I'm on Mcgee. And yeah, the 3-year decision, I kind of like that little prop action too.
I mean, minus 120 is not so bad when you get down to it. I know we missed the line movement. We love that plus money, but Dan, where are you at here, man?
Yeah, what does Mr. Best Fight Picks think?
I'm on the opposite side, guys. I mean, listen, like, we got retired fighters like Ben Saunders and Diego Lima finding ways to win against Court Mcgee. Court Mcgee's lost 5 of his last 8 fights just because he beat a 40-year-old in Claudio Silva and a guy in Ramiz Brahimaj who was literally starstruck and staring at him. Doesn't mean he's going to beat this young, explosive kid. Well, I said young, he's 35. This hungry, explosive guy who's going to come right at him and try to take his head off. And I agree with y'all. Blood Diamond, yeah, I get it. I get that. We can honestly act like that fight never happened. But let's look at the Worley Alves fight, dude. Like, that looked like a different guy than I saw on the regional scene. Because you go back to that fight Jeremiah Wells had that went the 5-round distance, and he literally like stared at the guy for 5 rounds and lost. I was like, what the hell? Like, how's this guy going to cut it in the UFC? But he's been aggressive in the UFC. He's been going for it. He knows that he's got to make things happen now with his age. And I like the line. I mean, it opened Vegas said minus 175 Wells, and he's currently plus 105. So I like the line against the guy in Mcgee. Despite him being on a 2-fight win streak, I still think he's on the decline. So give me Wells to come out here and just be a little bit too physical, just be a little bit too fast, just be a little bit too powerful, and possibly get a finish along the way. I like Wells at dog money.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just know how much the UFC loves Court Mcgee, and I just feel like they're not putting him out to pasture here against. I mean, listen, they do anything they want with anybody, so we've seen that.
It sounds like a little bit of a stretch.
Wait. So you think the UFC has like plans for Court Mcgee?
No.
Yeah, I mean, Guru, I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know.
I'll be honest.
I just think it's a similar matchup with the Brahmaj thing, or even the Claudio Silva. Each step has been like the next step up, like in terms of a guy's ability to finish him, because Claudio Silva really had none of that ability, and Brahmaj maybe a little bit more, and Wells certainly a little bit more than that.
Maybe a live betting opportunity on
that's
the Mcgee side.
That's true too.
Because I do think that round one. I mean, Dan, do you think the later this fight goes, do you think Wells has the decision in him here?
Or you think he hurts him so bad early that he's not going to come back?
I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen. I just like the number. I like the number against the declining fighter, against the guy. Like I said, Ben Saunders and Diego Lima found a way to make it happen, man. Like those guys are retired. Like this guy's lost 5 of his last 8. Like we can't just have recency bias because he, beat a couple guys that don't really belong like anymore. So I don't know. I like the dog. Look, if it was like minus 120 Wells, then I'd probably want to pass. But now that it's dog money and Vegas are saying minus 175, I'm interested.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I totally see your side on that one. Honestly.
I love it.
It makes sense.
And I love our ability all to just continue to flesh that out, because I mean, I think that's the beauty of our show, because again, a lot of other people's shows, they'll do a full breakdown, but they just come out and present their information. Here we really love that open dialogue, that conversation about these fights and breaking them all down. It's the sport that we love. So I continue to appreciate your time, Dan, and appreciate all the listeners' time as well listening to all this.
Let's kick it into overdrive. We got Ricardo Hamosh versus Danny Chavez. This one, we got Hamosh at minus 300 and Chavez at plus 235. Chavez, 9 years older than Hamosh, going to be a little bit smaller, giving up an inch of height. Hamosh is going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. Hamosh is also going to have a little bit of a volume advantage when it comes to either striking or the takedowns. And Hamosh has got the UFC experience and at a much younger age. I do think Chavez has solid boxing, defensive head movement, solid combos on his comeback with the counters and everything. So I do think that the striking can look pretty close. The wrestling, Chavez, he likes getting into it. His grappling solid. He's got his own little black belt and everything. But I think that Hamosh just
little black belt.
Yeah.
He's got a little black belt, just a little baby black belt.
Well, it's just like when you go and take a guy like Kai Kamaka's back, and next thing you know, he's turned around getting a single leg on you. I would refer to it as
the cereal box black belt.
Yeah, I guess that's why it came out of my mouth that way, which is very disrespectful.
I'm just messing.
Honestly,
just messing around.
No, but on the legit, for a guy that doesn't actually go and roll, that's pretty fucked up. So. No, in all actuality, I think my ultimate point is I just think
I missed that. What did you say that was disrespectful?
No, so I was just like, well, because I was talking about the grappling. I was like, oh, well, Chavez has got his own little black belt too. Like, and I didn't even mean it in like that type of way, but to say that someone's got like a little black belt, like, come on, like that's not necessarily, the best way to go out and bring it. It's like, yeah.
I mean, listen, he'd definitely strangle you, but the thing is, like, there's black belts and then there's black belts. So I guess what you're trying to say is that he's no Damian Maya. So
exactly. And I was just busting his chops, obviously, because that's my job to continue to bust chops.
But ultimately, I mean, I see why Hamosh is minus 300. I'm not. I would say like maybe he's with Jazz the Vicious or something like that instead of my top line parlay. So maybe I have a little something going on that. I could see where, you think, okay, maybe Chavez can grind him out. Maybe he's a little more physical. Hamosh still growing into his body, growing into the 145. But I just think he's a little more flashy, talented overall. And I think he's a little bit better wherever the fight goes. And he's got more experience at this level and the size. Guru?
Honestly, Hamosh is probably my most confident play other than a guy or a little further down on the card, which is a very even chalkier play. I think Hamosh has him covered everywhere. Even if you blind cover my eyes and tell me to place money on a guy that's significantly younger, is taller, has longer reach, I'm probably just I'll take that guy 65% of the time. He's gonna cash, and I think he gets the job done here. I'm not sure where Danny Chavez really even is a threat to him, to the point where near minus 300 on Hamosh, you should be playing that parlay. I think it's fairly safe. I don't think he gets the finish per se. And to see him edge out a decision, I mean, this is a guy in Danny Chavez that squeaked out a draw with Kai Kamaka because he got kicked in the nuts too much. It's tough. It's tough for Danny, and it's an 11-month layoff for a guy that's 35. So not where I'm looking. So yeah, I mean, you want to call me square for playing somebody minus 310? It happens. But winning tickets are winning tickets. I think Hamosh is a winner. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, you were asking, where's he a threat to Hamosh? I'll tell you where he's a threat. He's a threat in the fact that he's got a good calf kicking game. And Hamosh is one of those kind of tall, long guys for the weight class. He's got skinny legs. So if there's anything that he really needs to look out for, it's those calf kicks. But aside from that, I think that Hamosh is one of those guys that, firstly, he's only 26. He's been fighting in the UFC since 2017. Actually, I thought he's been fighting in the UFC longer, but it's actually because I've known about him a long ass time. He fought this dude Manny Vasquez on LFA back when they were called Legacy, and Dana White was in the front row trying to sign Ramos, and Ramos actually lost the fight. But then they gave him another opportunity on Dana White looking for a fight, and he ran through the kid that that Sean O'Malley beat on Contender Series, and they signed him ever since. And man, he's been fighting some tough competition. He's got some good wins. He took Bill Algeo to school. He beat Kyung Ho Kang, who just got a win this past weekend. Yeah. The guys he's lost to are all legit. Tukugov, a serious Russian. Leron Murphy, undefeated. Saeed Nurmagomedov just finished Cody Stamen, right? So
yeah,
Ramos has been paying his dues, and at some point, this kid is going to put it all together. It's going to click. You see these little flashes of brilliance. And this is the perfect opponent for him to go out there and finally put it all together and just paint a picture out there, man. So he has to be careful. Danny Chavez can calf kick. Danny Chavez comes from that MMA Masters camp. I mean, Miguel Baeza's got some good calf kicks. All those dudes can kick the calves really well, and it only takes a few of those to immobilize an opponent. So Ramos has to be aware of that. But if he is aware of that, I think he's going to beat this guy everywhere the fight goes. So give me Ramos to win the fight.
Yeah, shout out Uncle Weezy. This might be the ass shaving of the week. This is a good one.
Yeah, I think even Hamosh inside the distance plus 225 on a guy you're getting at minus 300 and expecting the style. Maybe he lands one of those patented spinning back elbows. Maybe he locks up his second career UFC submission where he has 7 total in his career, only 1 so far in the UFC. I mean, why not rack up another this week at plus 380?
It's an interesting way to fade the narrative since they figure the fight will go the distance at minus 176.
And for the Hamosh decision minus 105, I always get a little sketched out when you start getting to the specific fight methods at that minus number. That's where I really start going, okay, well, how can I find an angle? So we'll see if that angle actually plays out. But yeah, Hamosh lay it up. On to our next fight here. We got Maria Oliveira versus Gloria de Paula. This one,
the smoke show.
Yeah, you gotta imagine this one. I mean, there should be a pace. It should be exciting. It should be like a solid, striking matchup. And de Paula, is she gonna go for this newfound takedown game that we kind of saw against Belbita? Is that her path to victory against Oliveira? Is it the striking? because Gloria Paula is 6-4 overall in her MMA career. So if you're taking her at minus 265 and Oliveira at plus 215 here, if you're taking Gloria Paula at minus 265 for someone who's 6-4 in their UFC career, you're you're
Total career.
in the long run. And generally, when you're talking about like overall MMA careers, yeah, that's what I meant. 6-4 in her MMA career. Generally, you see these professionals like 7-1. Even Maria Oliveira at 12-4. You're like, wow, that is like that's a lot of experience. But even those 4 losses for the women's MMA, that's a solid amount of losses. But De Paula, why are we seeing you here at minus 265, Guru? What do you think?
Recency bias, ladies and gentlemen. Recency bias. And Gloria DePaula's newfound wrestling game, you mean where she went 1 of 5 versus Danielle Belbita? I guess. Yeah, I mean, sure. Did Maria Oliveira get taken down a bunch by Tabitha Ricci? Yeah, but Tabitha Ricci's like a muscle shark. Like, she's a beast, and she kept coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. She is a chain wrestler. Gloria DePaula is not a chain wrestler, even if she wants to try to wrestle a little bit more. I feel that Maria Oliveira came in, on short notice against some tough competition in her last fight, and is gonna look better here. And when you're gonna look better than you did against Tabitha Ricci on short notice, who, again, like I said, is the spam wrestler, and you want to give me this crazy price tag. I took Gloria DePaula in her last fight over Belbita at she was like a slight underdog, and where a lot of people were like the train was like starting to ride for Belbita. I didn't fully get it, and I faded the other way. And now again, all of a sudden you see her here as a massive favorite against somebody that had a bad showing in their first appearance. Okay. So now she's working hard in her camp, knows what it's like to have that UFC walk, gets another chance to do it. And she's good. She's a good fighter. I mean, kick my ass. She's got diverse kicking attacks. She will throw.
Oh, that doesn't say
kick.
much, Guru.
No, it doesn't at all. No, it doesn't all. It really doesn't. She's good from bottom. The problem is, she keeps her hands too low, and she wasn't urgent enough to get back to the feet. But she's, I'm sure, learned some of those mistakes. So I like my chances here, especially when you got somebody in Maria Oliveira is going to have a little bit of a reach advantage. So I want to see them face off, but at a plus 210, 215 dog price, some of these dogs have to hit. And some of these favorites like Hamosh have to cash. I think that this dog might squeak it out or bark it out, however we want to do it, or squeak toy like Dan Levy's dog. So what do we think, Dan?
I mean, I think that De Paula is better than her record indicates. And once she puts it together, she's got very nice variety with her striking. And then Maria Oliveira, like the 2 fights we've seen, so the Marina Rodriguez fight, like we can write it off because it's Rodriguez, but I didn't like the fact that she gave up. She didn't even go down. I mean, she literally waved the fight off standing. Like, that was not a good sign for someone that has UFC aspirations. And then, but one thing I did like in that last fight against Baby Shark was that she got into some really bad spots and she didn't get submitted. So that was good. But I kind of see Gloria DePaula just, fighting behind the jab. And again, just having more variety on the feet and winning this decision. But, I'm not going to lay a price like that on her. She's kind of got to prove it to me. But I'm not interested in the dog. I'm not convinced the dog belongs in the UFC. So give me DePaula via decision.
Yeah, that's fair. Literally, Maria Oliveira, if you look at her Tapology and who she's faced, it's like it's trash cans upon trash cans upon beer cans in the trash cans. It's not great, but yeah, grandma's armchair won't miss it. I dig in there, found a little shiny quarter, and I'm gonna lay that on my girl.
Yeah, the Guru always leaving grandma and grandpa broke. They wonder why all their retirement savings are gone.
It's fine. They go to the store. They buy the groceries with cash, so the change falls out of their pockets. It's just kind of laying in there.
That brings us to our next fight here, and short and sweet. Cody Stamann minus 575, Eddie Wineland plus 410. I think they feel bad for Cody Stamann that they made him fight in sequence. Nurmagomedov, Dvalishvili, Rivera. Yeah, I mean those just weren't very nice fights. Obviously, fighting Kelleher, that was a nice fight for him on short notice. But yeah, it's obvious. Anytime you give him a little bit of a step down, he can just completely dominate, whether it's a grappling decision or even, I mean, on the feet. Stamen, his hands really ain't too shabby. It's just, Wineland's going to have a little bit of a reach advantage here. It's just Cody Stamen's going to have a huge chin advantage and just overall youth and well-rounded game plan. His striking numbers are, even with the elite competition that he's faced, they're better than Wineland, who is the fundamental striker. So Cody Stamann minus 575 rounds out the three-legger that had Adrian Yanez and Kevin Holland. So that'll be up there for a few units. We're hoping to cash out at I think we got like plus 112 on those three. So it's not like one of those 5-unit max plays or anything like that, but a few people have felt a little more confident on the card on it. I think Cody Stamann is just the one on this card where you're just like, all right, I mean, this has got to be a layup. Like, do you think Cody Stamann, I think it's like a plus 275 at knockout? Does he find, his first UFC knockout? That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Gregory, what do you think here?
I'm so confused to see that Eddie Wineland wasn't released. Instead, they signed him to a new 4-fight contract. It was very confusing. Eddie Wineland, 37. Maybe they felt bad for Eddie. I don't understand. They set him up to get crushed by Sean O'Malley, which is insane. I like the name value of Eddie Wineland. I don't even understand that fight. And then to me, I don't know, John Castaneda, did we all think that John Castaneda was going to knock him out? John's a good boxer, and John's, kind of put it together now with a win over Miles Johns. And I think, is he fighting? He's fighting soon. But in any event, I always get sidetracked, my fucking ADD. I don't know. I just feel like I get so you give Eddie Wineland a chance here. Okay, Eddie, here's the one guy that maybe can't knock you out because he literally has pillows for hands. He doesn't even have knockouts on the amateur scene or regional scene coming up. Just not really knock people out, Cody Stamann. But I hope he doesn't hear that because he definitely knocked me out. And then you've got, Eddie, who again, maybe the only prayer chance in hell is some freak knockout that he can kind of pull back in time from a million years ago, these WC days. I don't know. So yeah, Cody Stamann probably wins. I probably spoke too much on this fight already. Dan, what do you think?
Listen, Eddie Wineland's a legend, former WEC champion, a guy I grew up watching, but Eddie Wineland's completely washed up. It's just a matter of, is Cody going to finish him or not? Cody's not really a finisher. Cody's just kind of a guy that does just enough to win. So that's the big question, but the winner is going to be Cody Stamann.
Yeah, short and sweet. I think, they were like, Eddie, you can't possibly get knocked out here, right? This is like a test, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if he gets viciously knocked out in the first round, you might see them kind of release him or make him go. That would be really bad.
Yeah, no, you can't argue with how bad that would be. But now we get into a fight here for Phil Hawes that if he can't find the victory here, we can't tell you how bad that would be coming in against Cerrone win. But funny enough, you look at the line here. You got Phil Hawes minus 265 against Cerrone win at plus 215. Tell me why I'm sitting here kind of why do I need to play Cerrone win here? I just Phil Hawes, I mean, he's a beast. He's 100% a beast. He's got great technical skills. He's a great wrestler. He's super strong, athletic. I can't trust his chin or his cardio. And in concert, I mean, we've seen it just kind of time and time again, even in the fights that he's winning. Imavov, who's super talented. So you kind of can't even take that away from him that he won those 2 rounds against Imavov before getting to that third and it getting real sketchy. But even Dawkins, I mean, he puts a stamp on that fight. He wins a decision.
10-8 in round 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so he definitely has some very solid wins. It's just yeah, you never know when that chin's gonna pop up. You never know when Hawes is gonna find that the gas just isn't quite running the same anymore. And Duran Win, you talk about volume, takedowns, stuff like that. The other question, I'm pretty sure half the battle, is going to be referring, I think almost 100% of the battle for Duran Win is with the scale. So
yeah, that's
just
super
to at least
interesting.
get there.
Yeah, listen, his last fight against Antonio Hoyo was at plus 195, was at catch weight at 195. It's an extra 10 pounds for a guy that in Duran Win, who's like literally a mini DC, a DC protege in that respect, a wrestler, small for the division and kind of very thick in that respect as well. You see Phil Hawes, who honestly has gas tank issues himself, has chin issues for sure, got rocked in round 2, wobbled badly by Dawkins, got again, I don't even understand, how are they trying to sneak Phil Hawes in here at minus 300? He was just minus 300 to Chris Curtis. We just saw Chris Curtis put him down, man. Yeah, Hawes was looking
Curtis
good
is
that
also
first round,
really
but Chris
good.
Curtis is a beast, man. I would pick Chris Curtis over Duran Win, I believe, at this point in time, but I still think it's an interesting fight. I do. I like Duran Win here. Money line, just straight up, because there's no way I'm not doing it. Not even with grandma's couch cushion am I taking Phil Hawes at minus 300. So yeah, I mean, really, you have to. Phil Hawes has to crack the chin at Duran Win to win, I think, because I'm not sure how great Phil Hawes is going to be at getting back to his feet against. Maybe the first couple he'll muscle up and get up. But Duran Win, who's landing over 4 takedowns for 15 minutes, obviously it doesn't necessarily warrant that he has a ton of control time. I guess it does at 30% of his fights. I don't know. He's a wrestler, man. He's gonna keep wrestling this guy, and Phil Hawes is gonna get tired. So unless Phil Hawes knocks him out, he's in trouble, and I'm not sure that he's going to. What do you think, Mr. Daniel?
I think Phil Hawes has literally every single thing you want in a fighter except a chin. And man, if this guy had a chin, I think he'd be fighting for a title one day. I think he's that damn good. I mean, look at the guys he's already beaten. Beat Imavov, who's a top 15 guy. Beat Dawkins, who's a very talented guy. I literally like everything about Phil Hawes except his chin. And it's just so unfortunate, man. Has all the athletic traits, has the one-hitter quitter, has the D1 wrestling background. What else can we ask for? A chin. It's just, man, it's so unfortunate. If he, it's funny because you look at a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, he's nowhere near the athlete of of Phil Hawes, but he's got a chin. If you could just give Phil Hawes Kelvin Gastelum's chin, he could be like a world champion.
He'd
man.
Be indestructible. Let's build a fighter.
And then with Duran Win, I mean, when you're 5'4" and you're fighting at middleweight, I respect it. I'm not 6 feet tall, and when I did my jiu-jitsu tournaments, they were all against bigger guys, so I respect it. But jiu-jitsu doesn't involve getting hit in the face. Jiu-jitsu doesn't involve getting kneed in the face, right? So it's
hopefully anyway.
Duran, you should be fighting he should be fighting at 45, but he should be fighting at 170 at least, man. This dude is way too small for 85s. The thing is, he might still knock out Phil Hawes anyways, because Phil Hawes' chin is it actually is suspect. But I would say Duran is KO or bust in this spot, man. You're not gonna out wrestle a D1 wrestler. If they just go boxing for boxing, I don't think he's gonna outbox him. It's just about when Duran lands his shots, is Phil gonna wobble? Is Phil gonna chicken dance? Is Phil gonna get knocked out? That's the big question. If that doesn't happen, Phil's whooping this dude's ass. And I think Phil might whoop this dude's ass and still get knocked out. The pick is Phil Hawes. He's much better than this guy. He actually belongs in this weight class. He is skilled across the board. It's just Phil, can we just stay conscious for these 15 minutes or less, my man? if we can, we're winning this fight. So I got Phil Hawes to send this little midget back down to 170.
He does belong
Yeah.
at 170, but that chin is like you said, yeah, not worth. I can't do it. I can't do the
Yeah.
minus 300 because when midget Duran Win is doing a little leprechaun dance over Phil Hawes' corpse, like I can't excuse it to myself.
I mean, Wynn lands almost 6 strikes a minute at distance, actually. I was kind of surprised. And he spends 65% of his time at distance for a guy that's shot 36 takedowns. So it's not like he'll actually be like completely lost at sea if this fight takes place at distance. It's just he's kind of hoping that the guy that's 6 inches taller and 7-inch reach advantage is just like punching over his head and not actually landing.
Swings, puts
Yeah.
himself out of position, gives up his hips, and then
Yeah.
doesn't get up off the ground.
Yeah, so I mean, Duran Win, it might be.
It's a tall
worth,
mountain
like,
to climb. It's a tall mountain to
tiny
climb.
sprinkle, but yeah, I'm not rushing to play that fight overall, but Duran Win could be a little.
Is this our card
interesting.
opener for UFC on ESPN
This is it.
37?
This is it. So we made it. We've got Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Dawkins. Dawkins at minus 235, Dolidze at plus 190. I think that this fight is going to be a clinch fest. I think we will see a little bit of distance work. I think Dawkins is looking to show off those hands, but Dolidze, I mean, he's got really good striking defense in the regard that he kind of just stays out of range and has good movement backwards, and he's got enough power to where opponents really aren't trying to get in extended exchanges with him. At the same time, he really doesn't throw a ton of volume overall, but when you extrapolate it to what he does from distance, at least it's 4 strikes landed, and his opponents are only landing 1 at distance. But Kyle Dawkins, you see, he's landing 7. His opponents are landing 1. So, once again, coming right back across the other way is a guy that does the same type of things that Dolidze does, but Dawkins just does it a little better. I just think one of the things that Dawkins is normally used to having a little bit bigger of a size advantage, and Dolidze is one of those guys actually coming down from 205 and actually has fought at heavyweight in the past. So, and you've seen him go to the decision plenty of times now in the UFC. So his cardio has looked slightly better and better from that Trevin Giles fight. Then you see him, kind of control Staropoli and, just look a little better overall. But that's a guy who fought up a weight class on short notice and loves getting controlled overall and is subsequently cut from the UFC. So I don't think if you're Roman Dolidze that you can just hug Kyle Dawkins and expect to win. So I do think it's Kyle Dawkins here. I do like Roman Dolidze, just kind of like his general vibes as like punch me in the face so that I get angry and wake up a little bit. Because on the regional scene, I mean, the dude's a psycho from distance. But in the UFC, we're seeing a guy that's like low volume and not going to win on points. Kyle Dawkins is probably not going to get knocked out or submitted. So you're expecting Dolidze to win with a leg lock or sitting on top and top control on a guy that gave Brendan Allen everything he could handle over all 3 rounds in the grappling realm. I do understand why Dawkins is minus 235. I'm not including him as a parlay piece anywhere because I do think the physicality could be that missing piece of the puzzle. The power of Dolidze and the defense of Dolidze could be the missing piece of the puzzle, but it's not enough for me to want to bet him as the underdog. I will take Kyle Dawkins as my pick. And if anything, a Kyle Dawkins decision at plus 175 seems like a decent enough value for a guy that's a minus 235. And I don't really see finishing Dolidze.
Yeah.
Whereas you're getting like a minus 105 on some people before as a favorite in the same type of ballpark. Yeah. That's where I see that plus 170 has some value for the decision.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said completely. I think one of the cool things that you can take away from both of these guys is they're not easily finished, and in fact they never have been in their pro career. So simply betting this fight to go the distance at minus 120 and not having to pick a side is also super cool to me. So I'm just gonna kind of drop that little mic right there. Fight to go the distance minus 120.
There you go. You got the play for me. Thank you. You cleaned it up.
Dan Levy,
I've never even dropped that.
tie it up for us, man. Put a little bow on this pretty package.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my issue is just the price. Minus 260 on Dawkins when he's not really a guy that puts a stamp on things. Like that Jamie Pickett fight was ugly until he got the submission. The Kevin Holland fight, look, I know he finished him, but it was an inadvertent head clash that dropped Holland. We don't know how that fight would have played out without it's not a foul because it was inadvertent, but without the accident happening. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you go back to Contender Series, the reason that Dana didn't sign Dawkins off the bat is because he felt like Dawkins would get into all these dominant positions. He just wouldn't put that stamp on things. And if I'm laying minus 260, you got to put that stamp on things. And I think that Dolidze is a competent grappler. It's just, when Dolidze gets tired, that's when, he'll go for some sloppy leg locks. He'll give up position. He'll end up laying on his back. And those are the kind of things you don't want. So I definitely lean towards Kyle Dawkins. It's just, I view this as a dog or pass situation at those plus 220 odds. I think Dolidze can give him an honest fight. I'm not picking him out right. I'm not saying that he's going to dominate, anything like that. But for minus 260, I want guarantees that it's going to be a first round finish. I want guarantees of domination. And I don't think it's going to be guarantees of domination. Like the fights that Dolidze lost were like split decisions, man. They were like close ass fights. And if this is going to be another close ass fight, then there's value on that plus 220. So betting wise, I actually think it's Dolidze or pass. Pure pick. I'll go Dawkins.
Yeah, super, super well said. I think you put the bow on it perfectly, man. We really appreciate your time here, man. I can't stress that enough. Shout out at Best Fight Picks, at Half the Battle, Mr. Daniel Levy for giving his time here today, breaking down an awesome card, UFC Austin, UFC on ESPN 37. TB, man, sick co-host. Happy to have him back at a good time too. We're finishing now at a time we usually start, so I love that. Dan Levy, when I had messaged him this week, he's like, "Oh, isn't it usually later?" I'm like, "Yeah, it usually is later, but we're trying out a new time. We're gonna make it work. See how it's good." So I really appreciated him making that work too. You can find me anywhere at Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter Verdict, Instagram Tapology. You can find my co-host at TB Scouting MMA, Verdict, Instagram, Twitter Tapology, and at Best Fights Daniel Levy, Half the Battle. Yeah. Next week gonna be sick. We got Gamrot and what's his face?
Sarukian.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Sarukian. That's sick. I think I'm on Sarukian right now, but we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned. See you next week. Check that Bet MMA. Yeah, Dan.
Any last words? We really appreciate you coming on. Buddy. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. No, thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure talking fights. Anybody interested in checking me out, my show's called Half the Battle, available everywhere podcasts are found. And then my Twitter's Best Fight Picks. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, seriously, man. Thanks for joining us. And thank you all for listening. Take care and see you next week.